Hello everyone, it's Cheryl Millett here, live at 5, all things healthy. There's just so much to cover. I know you've heard this before. So many interesting things, so much news, so much good news, and what I want to share today. And then actually I pulled out some Irish slang to share, some puns to share, some other laughter. My laughter book, I found it here. I'm going to share from that, so we're going to have some good laughs at the end. So I hope you have a tea, something warm, or maybe a drink or something, because it's going to take a lot of fun time here to go through a number of these things. But here we go. So we're going to get going with the something different, something new, something interesting to learn. And first I'm going to start with something I thought was very interesting. And there's this book called Stiff. And in there you actually learn a lot about it. If you're very interested, I think her name is Mary. Actually, I have one of her books. I don't know where it is at this quick second. I moved a number of my books around, but I have one of her books. But Stiff is this book, and it's all around what's going on in the body, what's going on with the family, what's going on at the universities for trial. Just very, very interesting. But there was this post today, and I thought, how many people even would think of this, let alone know it in their lifetime? So I'm just going to read this very quickly. So welcome if you're new. Welcome back if you are, I got an itch in my eye here. This is your first time. Welcome and welcome back. So here we go. This is beautiful. So this person in her practice as a death midwife, she always talks to the dead, and she tells them they're dead and they're not alone and they're still loved, still valued, always remembered. And she's sharing this other story here. So here we go. I'm going to read this part from Angie Buchanan. I just actually stumbled upon it from a new friend today. And here, so when the corpses arrive at the autopsy, they arrive with the clothes in which they died, and it is the expert's job to undress them to start the necropsy. Necropsy is probably part of the autopsy there. Many times the deceased arrive in with the facial expressions that they had at the last moment: fear, tranquility, anger, sadness, and sometimes even with tears. Who knew? Medical examiners give us a scientific explanation as required by their work, but through personal experiences, they've had to combine science with their beliefs. Now, such is a case where, under investigation, it was possible to find a grave of a professor who had been kidnapped, murdered, and buried 3 weeks ago in a distant place. Now, when he was exhumed, he was still in his school uniform and was in a fetal position, and his face reflected a deep sadness. The work of undressing him without cutting his clothes, the whole clothes are preserved for analysis, was practically impossible for the experts given the cadaverous rigidity. It was when the coroner arrived and said, "I'm going to tell you how it is the right way." Now, everyone thought he was going to give us a technical, scientific, medical, or professional solution, but oh, what a surprise. He began to speak to the corpse as he began to undress him. "You're here, friend. Your family already found you. You will no longer be there alone. And the only thing they want is to watch over you so that you are at peace. They never stopped looking for you. Now help me so we can finish quickly and go with your family." Then we saw that the corpse that had been buried for 3 weeks began to loosen undressing it was very easy and leaving it in a position as if it were lying on its back. Its face changed and it looked calm. This tip is used by good doctors who, despite living with death on a daily basis, have not lost the sensitivity of knowing that before them is a person who is a father, a son, a husband, and that they must be treated with respect and dignity. Being a psychologist, I realize that even corpses emanate emotions. Now, this is an unknown source, but I thought it was very interesting to read and thought I would share it in a sense that it is something completely different. Something completely different. Although Stiff the book, I bring it up because it was a very interesting read, and I would only suggest you read it if you are okay with death or open to be adventurous in that field and to see, because she doesn't hold back. Hi, sis. She doesn't hold back, and she's got a great kind of flamboyant, playful way of writing. It's really awesome. So what else did I want to, so this is kind of like multiple today. I'm not going to save this for tomorrow or for the next day because it's just so much easier for me to not think about it. So I want to show you what's in here. This is eggshells, but as you can see, they're actually, yeah, I crushed them with this as much as possible. But in my research of eggshells, of wanting to put them into the garden, into the plants, is that eggshells take a long time to break down. They're very, very hard, which is a good thing when we think about collecting eggs and having them in cartons, and that they're very hard. So in my research on shells, this will be a number of weeks ago, I've been doing it for weeks, the children save them for me, and they put it out, we dry them, is that it is best to grind it up into a powder to actually allow it to break down. So when people did the research on it and they put whole eggshells into gardens, or even as to I have it here, they still weren't broken down in the year, the 2 years, a few years in the future. It probably will break down some point. I think that the more organic matter, the more moisture, all of that helps with the proper composting. But I use my Vitamixer and I will put them in and it'll be like this very fine powder. In fact, what an effect. As soon as I take the lid off, you have all this fine powder coming up in a large, like a cloud, a smoke, a cloud just coming out, very, 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 very fine. But that's, so then this is just me getting ready. As soon as this container's filled, actually I think I need about 2 of them to make it to work properly in the Vitamixer, then I'll use it in the Vitamixer. But I will tell you, it's because of the hardness of the eggshell, it actually leaves the inside hard plastic of these Vitamix blenders like a little bit rough. It becomes very rough. That's how hard the eggshell. So if you don't want to to do that to your blender container, then I wouldn't highly recommend it. But for all the eggs we use, it made more sense to actually put them to good use. Not that the city doesn't. They are very good with putting all this compost together and making soil and then giving it to the good people or putting it in the parks. Very good. So the last thing, as something interesting, and this is what I found out when I wrote my book. I think it's a piece in my, I know it is a piece in my book, is for all those holistic practitioners out there, and for people who are looking at health sometimes, they got the picture of the apple. They're showing the apple. Even the clip I did for CBC was of an apple. I was throwing up an apple. So, the saying, eat an apple a day will keep the doctor away. The apple actually was not just the apple. It was actually a round fruit. So it could be a plum, could be a peach, could be a nectarine, could be an apple, and it goes back hundreds of years, not too many hundreds of years, because the written word and the books and all that are only they kind of go back and they find out when they first have it in literature and try to make sense of the many shares that they've had on it. But eat an apple a day really not an apple, but a round fruit. So there you go. That's that. So I did say that good for chicken feed. Oh yeah, why not? Because they're laying the eggs. So it'd be awesome to have sprinkled around where they're feeding it. Maybe if the worms or the grubs or the insects that they're eating are consuming it, then it's getting into their feed, and there you go, make the eggs. But this is organic. That's such a great thing about the calcium of the eggshell, is it's organic, not inorganic like you would get from rock. So lovely that way. So let's get into the news. First I want to say, you might have seen the link, and I talked about the link to the meeting last night. My takeaway from the meeting is, I'm going to say that probably every meeting you get a large group of, I think there was like 45 people at one point in the Zoom meeting. People are passionate. People are very passionate about what's going on, especially if they just find out, they just discover certain things. They get very passionate. It'd be no different than somebody quits smoking or something, and they feel the difference, they smell the difference, they notice the difference, and they're telling everybody to quit smoking. That kind of passion. But one of the things I want to be mindful of here for all of our safety and for coming together is not to panic. Not to panic. So to have the passion, yes, but also not to panic. I think this is very key to keep us in a place where we can share information, absolutely, but then we're not panicking with it. It's not like it's a do or die situation in that standpoint. It doesn't mean things aren't unraveling, but it's just the essence of not needing to panic. And there was some really good news at the end where one gentleman spoke up, and I can't remember the website, but our YouTube channel, but it's like Truth and so. But he feels, and just as the going around the world is that this will be wrapped up in a month. Now, I will always say, do we really know? And is it going to be every day a possible different turn, this way, that way? Is it going to be a month? Is it going to be sooner? We don't really know. But the positive thing was he felt it was going to be over in a month due to the signs and information that is out there. The court, the people, the scientists, the doctors, everybody's kind of speaking out, which is great, which is great. So having solutions coming together and having solutions is a very big part, and doing it in a peaceful way is a very big part of Sylvain Henry's, and I won't say his group, but he's been a leader in this area before, and we really do. The thing of it is to come together. But some people may not appreciate the meeting from the standpoint they're really trying to find the peace, stay away from, and I think like I said before, every meeting, depending on who's speaking, depending on what's saying, may be a little different. But it may be too much for some people who are really trying to avoid the news and do all of that. But to keep in touch with any of that, and this is for all the people that come on and listen to Live at 5, if you watch this, I'll be the first one to announce anything or come on here should there be anything that any of us need to do or participate in. That is for sure. As long as it's in a peaceful way, as long as it's a matter of coming together in that way. So I had a walk this morning, and in this walk, dropping the car off, I was walking back with my lovely dog. And people have dogs, so you get to stop and talk. But there was a truck, there was a camera guy, and you can see on the side of the truck it had global news on it. So I took the opportunity to start up a conversation with these two lovely gentlemen. And I kind of had a question for them, thinking they're in the middle of it, or they're in maybe hearing things, I don't know. So I said to them, I'm very curious. I hear these cases, it seems, the increased cases, 300 cases, 400 cases, 250, whatever it is. you've heard me talk about the cases. I am still not got any answers regarding if it's asymptomatic or whatever. So I thought I'd take this opportunity to ask the question. Now I'm hearing, these cases going up. Are you hearing anything about whether or not they're asymptomatic, or how many of them are hospitalizations? And what he shared with me is they're all asymptomatic. And because there's no increase in hospitalizations, he said. There's no increase in there. So it's all asymptomatic. We didn't get into much further. I mean, we're talking about dogs, we're talking about locations, what they're doing, and that initially. But that was that. And I said I've been reaching out to see if I could get anybody to share anything. And, then we kind of wrapped it up there. By then they had the big cameras loaded up into the minivan, and they're on their way, or an SUV. So then, probably not even 100 feet away, just around the corner, I meet up, dog, talking. We're talking while the dogs are getting acquainted, and this lovely fella, first we're talking about dogs, and how old's your dog, and things like that, but then we get on to this event, and I'm not going to remember all of it, but he was well aware that things weren't right. But we, as people that are not in a panic or that kind of way, we just start off, with this, or start off with that. He wasn't wearing a mask, I'm not aware, we're not trying to confirm where anybody is, but we get onto the topic, and he seemed to be interested in the topic, and I was interested in hearing how he thought, and then I would say some things. But he gave me a name of a gentleman, which I looked up. So let me just find it here. It's actually on YouTube, so here it is here. This is a gentleman, Ivor Cummins. If I got the name, I know I've got the name correctly. I'll put this link down below. And he is, now I'm not going to do the name justice, but apparently his thing is to look at facts and charts and stats, or whatever it is, something like that. That's his deal. So he's been coming on to YouTube. So he highly recommended this fellow I met up with. I'll just call him Bob for another name. Viral issue, crucial update, and it's the science and the logic and the numbers. And he goes through, now I haven't watched it all because it's about 40 minutes and haven't had time to, but I've watched the first 10 minutes. And he's going through it, but I left it at a screen so I could come on and bring it up. So he goes into, he's actually from Ireland, so I love his accent. Europe, all-cause death. So he's going into actual scenario, because cases, yeah, it's kind of like a fishy number to begin with, considering 50% can be positive. But at the end of the day, how do they know it's 50%? It could be 80% for all we know. It could be even 90% for all we know. They're all asymptomatic. So with this, in this case, he was showing a couple of key things I'm going to point out here. The total of deaths, so this is winter season excess deaths. So this is kind of, getting into like the flu season. Not a key time, especially we're thinking with damp weather, cold weather, for some people who are susceptible and vulnerable, which I think more and more people have learned just who are the vulnerable. And in here, the total is 140,000. That is in 2018. In 2019, there wasn't much going on as far as deaths go. There's a very, according to this chart, in Europe, so be mindful, it's Europe, it's not North America, very low death rate. And that might have been for a number of reasons. Maybe the viruses, or maybe maybe people are happier that year. Who knows? And then it shows a spike. But what he's saying is, in this spike, if they call it dry timber, I guess it's similar to having a forest that's dry, and if there's no match lit, then the forest is fine. It continues on. Let's say it continues on for a year with no issues. But if there is a spark, then some of the dry timber, there's going to be fires, and it's going to be cleared out. Can't say it any, it's just what's popping into my head. And so with COVID, the total excess death as of September the 7th, so that's like a longer drawn out period of time, is 180,000. Not much different from the 140,000, but, and he doesn't have it in chart, but he mentions it around the same level, if not, I don't want to say the wrong thing, less than 180,000, then I think 2000 or 2001 flu. So here you go. They call it excess deaths, kind of related to possibly the flu, that kind of thing. Usually happens in the winter first, these number of weeks. And it's a sharp curve because it seems like more is happening in a shorter period of time, which may make sense just to do with the incorrect treatments and the ventilators and things like that that they were giving people, the fear, the worry, and all that kind of stuff that actually happened. But very good. So this Ivor Cummins, he's already got 100 and almost 1.5 million views on this particular from September the 8th. Viral issue, crucial update September 8th. The science, logic, and data explain. To me, this is good news. The more and more people who can tap into how the facts and numbers are really panning out, and to get that, somebody who's an expert in that and more views may allow all of us to see and to agree with. Now, the other good news is CDC is admitting that there's no proof that COVID-19 is an airborne virus. Now, I can't understand all the details as much as I want to. It's a little too vague for me, to tell you the truth. I will post the link below. I have to do more exploring. I've got to be able to see where this comes from. But it seems like there's many different sites that actually have this information. Different titles. CDC backtracks on warning that coronavirus is airborne. And that. So there's a bit of information there. Absolutely. And there's another link that I'm going to put up here as well, and that is, let me see if I can find it. I should really spend a little time. Yes, here we go. This website actually gives a lot of information. It is quite detailed with links, and I'm going to bring it up here. Belgium health experts demand investigation of WHO, the acronym, World Health Organization, for faking coronavirus pandemic. This is quite detailed. So if you really want to dive into what the different areas are in here, and it takes you kind of, and then here's the open letter. We, the Belgian doctors and health professionals, wish to express our serious concern about the evolution of the situation in the recent months surrounding the outbreak of the SARS-CoV-2 virus. We call on politicians to be independently and critically informed in the decision-making process and in the compulsory implementation of corona measures. We ask for an open debate where all experts are represented without any form of censorship, because you're understanding, and I'm understanding, that certain documentaries, certain posts are being taken down, and they're claiming that it's more destructive on our health to kind of believe these things. I kind of call BS on it myself. There is no reason. There is really every opportunity to see different sides here, and I think all information should be put for all of us to see, and in a non-panic way we're looking at it, and then we choose. We have the freedoms, which is really what this is more about. Invoking way too much fear, and we want to maintain our freedoms. So lots of information here. So we call an end to all these measures and ask for an immediate restoration of all our normal democratic governance and legal structures of all our civil liberties, because what is kind of happening in Canada, I'm tuning in, is they've been changing things how can I, just kind of, that's probably a good word, is slipping it in, slipping things in and creating things that us good people are. Now, we do put our trust in the politicians to make choices, absolutely. But if these choices mean taking away our freedoms and taking away our freedom to choose, then, therefore, good people, we should have something to say about it and not let that scare. So the concept of health, the predicted pandemic with millions of deaths, the facts about, I'm just reading the subtitles here, the facts about COVID-19, the lockdown, our immune system, it goes into so many things. Most people, therefore, already have a congenial or cross immunity because they were already in contact with variants of the same virus. It talks about the T cells, it talks about various things, consequences of social isolation on physical and mental health, a highly contagious virus with millions of deaths without any treatment. Mortality turned out to be many times lower than expected and close to that of normal seasonal flu, which some people want to argue, but the facts are there. So when I put down this Ivor Cummins YouTube, again, if this is interest you, I mean, I'm just giving you kind of a close here, but so for some, you want to go and explore more, and some kind of don't. So that seems to me from my earlier research that the models are really as good as the professor, and perhaps they have their own agenda, they have their own, maybe they were paid out to make it wrong, to make it exactly what they wanted, to create fear. At the end of the day, I see fear as really the basis for a number of these things, because it doesn't make sense. Propagation, mass, the second corona wave, strengthening a prevention policy, the Hippocratic Oath, vaccine, the role of the media in the official communication plan, emergency law versus human rights, immense damage caused by the current policies. A lot of information is in here. And actually, in a lot of ways, condensed, because many of these could actually have a mini book written on them, from my understanding and all the research I've done. So I'm going to put that there. Again, it's the Irish Centennial, but like the other one, this one seems to actually be more different news. When I went to search it up, because it was available, I don't know, it was on Instagram or something, so I'm desktop oriented, so I went and searched for it, found it, but it was on also a lot of different sites. So this might help people who are on the fence or really open to seeing about what the other side says. The other side is an experts, scientists, and those scenarios. So that's that. What's the other good? Oh, other good news. Here, so on my travel, so this is what I find, Ivor, I'm just going to kind of keep it so that, I'm still walking home at this point, as I meet a former mayor of Toronto. So he lives in my neighborhood, and he also has a dog, a lovely dog, and I won't mention the dog's name, but anyways, we're kind of going, and he mentioned he's been away, and he comes back here to be appointments and those kind of things, and we just kind of gently just said, what do you think about this and like this, and his comment was, I wish I could remember the word, was something like ridiculous, right? So not too judgmental, but ridiculous. So he's been comfortably at his other home, let's say, and avoiding nonsense. So ridiculous, nonsense, those are probably in the tone of the way he said it. And then I came home, but before I went in, I met another neighbor. And there was a reason, we just kind of exchanged some things, because he sends things over to Africa. And this was an interesting conversation, okay? So he's from Africa, his wife's from here, and I've met his brother that's come over here, so I've known them for as long as I've been here, 20 years, and the kids went to the same school. And so, how's it going, with Africa? And he says, Cheryl, there's nothing. There's no death. There's nothing. They don't even know that anything's going on. So, I'm like, big thumbs up. Sometimes people don't always need to know all of the details. They just don't. So he's he's like confused. He goes, why isn't it affect? He thought for sure that it would affect them more because of the conditions they live in. And you've heard me say this before. The conditions they live are probably better than the conditions we live in here, in the stress, the pressure, the media, and all of that, right? So that was a good part. That's why I said lots of good news. I mean, the whole walk over here with those few encounters were just amazing. And then I see, so then, there's actually a couple of other encounters, but that's I'll just stop it there. Is that, yes, mask-free. It's another great piece of news. And now I haven't confirmed all of these states, so I'm just going to, because I've heard a couple of the states mentioned frequently, even last night on the call, Florida, but Georgia, Idaho, South Dakota, and Tennessee. So in the U.S., now I know there's other countries have done this as well, but that's good news. Good news. So whatever's unfolding there, whatever critical thinking, common sense, all of that's coming in, that's for people to know. I mean, how many people don't know that or know that? Because here's the other good news. So I decided, so when I was dropping off my vehicle for oil change this morning, I usually listen to classical, and then the news comes on, and the last few times I get it, it's like, kind of gets me riled up. It's like, as I was saying to my neighbor, I'm going, wow, I mean, I have a little cuss word coming out of me when I hear, because a doctor came on and said, oh, people, you got these cases going up, it was so good, and now you have to be, and there's going to be a second wave, and this second wave, I feel, is going to be bigger than the first wave, and like, Cheryl cusses a bit, because I hear that, I'm going, what? How the heck do they know? Right, so they had, nice, calm, relaxing music, classical music, and then all of a sudden, and that wasn't the only piece. There was a couple of other pieces shared. So I said to myself, I'm going to share something. I'm going to go onto the website, and I'm going to send them an email. So I did. I got a response. I'm going to read you this response, just so that you can see it. And I figure on some of these things, they have gotten down. So let me find it here. Yeah. I'm not going to say this person's name, but anyway, they are part of many more other radio stations. So I can read you mine first, okay? That might just give you a little bit of context to us here. So I say, to whom it may concern, or so-and-so, because I have this actually specific email. It's not like info ad or media results ad or anything like that. Every time I get in my vehicle, your radio station is the first to come on, and I just love the classical and all the music 96.3 has to share. But, in capitals, the big but, I'm feeling crazed at the time on the news portion, especially around this event, and I'm afraid I and others will be tuning out as this event, COVID as they call it, continues. Yeah, because people they don't listen to news that way. So there's something called mental health, and many are having to tune the news out. And then as a practitioner, I will have to recommend that they do so, because the fear that comes with your news, now most likely not your news, there's a boss that dictates what's in and out. So what could be in is good news. Like, the good news is most of the cases are asymptomatic, so I kind of plug that in. Not an issue not an issue when the vulnerable is taking care of themselves. So share the good along with the current present moment. Future stuff, question mark, not so much. Beginning predictions never panned out, and so many doctors, scientists, and the like show this to be no different than the average flu. Strange, question mark. Why all the spreading of fear, question mark. Question indeed. What I heard this morning, a second wave, bigger than the first. How is this person predicting this? It's crazy. And the fact that he can share this, fear-driven. So let's ask ourselves some good questions and think for ourselves. With the rise in stress from this and before this, it is wise to share such things and predictions. Is it wise? Question. So until things are adjusted in what's reporting on your news segments, I will decline to listen in and choose my CDs instead. So hope this gives you some feedback and will make a difference to the good people who just love your station, and also to those that will listen in and hear some facts, both sides, good news, etc. Only wish we would think about what the news brings at this time, and that could be more fear or helpful information. Ask yourself why they moved from reporting on numbers of deaths to the number of cases. Secondly, it is well established according to the science of the test that false positives exist and have always existed. Spin it more, and all positives spin it. The machine less and all negatives. Why is that? So hope you're all well. Take care. Get some vitamin D, fresh air, and providing music that soothes the soul without the hype of poor unnecessary predictions. Enjoy your way. So I'll read you what she wrote to me back. Thank you for writing in and expressing your concerns. I forwarded your email onto our Director of News and Radio Management team to review further. We want to assure you that we take all listener feedback seriously and into consideration. We appreciate your listenership and your feedback. So maybe this is your, common response that they have, but the idea is they responded. None of the people that I have sent to as politicians or schools or whatever have said boo about anything of my questions. And I didn't even go into all that information. I just had some simple questions about how many are they asymptomatic and how many are hospitalizations. Very, very, very simple. So that was that. So good news all around, really. I see it as very, 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 very good news. And I just want to thank the people that continue to share links and videos and information. I think I'm very behind that, I can tell you, very behind. And I have to really kick into wrapping up some of my courses. So I'm okay with that. But let's get into some fun. Let's get into some laughter. And I'm going to start with the calendar one. So I've actually got 3 here. I think this is going to be a lot of fun. So here we're going to go. So we've got the good news. We got something interesting. And here is some things we can smile at. Even if you can walk around and smile. Here's actually something, I think I've said this before, but I want to say it again. So this morning, and every morning, and anytime I'm out and about, I say good morning or good afternoon or good evening to everybody that I get their eye contact. Even if I don't get their eye contact, I say good morning, and they smile. And I'll have a comfortable smile, pleasant face on my head. And everybody says good morning. It's great. But I think that that's a really good way. I'm not in my head thinking about, do they know, don't they know? Oh, look, they're in fear. I just get right out of that, and it's just all about accepting everyone and, saying good something. Oh, you're welcome, my lovely cousin Pauline. That's great. So, okay, let's get into some fun here. But I did want to mention that about the good morning thing, and I did a lot of that this morning. There was an explosion at the cheese factory in France. Debris everywhere. That's it. Debris. Brie is in the brie, the cheese. I know some, really, unless you actually see it sometimes with the wording, it may not be as impactful. So I'll post that one up. And then I've got some Irish slang here. So when in Ireland, they have some lovely books, and this is I'll read it. The Book of Feckin' Irish Slang. That's great crack. If you know what crack, I'll tell you what it is. Crack for cute ors and bowsies. So now I don't know what couple of those words. But clack is like shooting the breeze. I could say the other word, but that's what it is. You know, it's good stories, those kind of things. And feckin', well, I'm gonna leave that up to you to know what that word is. There, that's how they say it, feckin'. Okay, so here's the expression, and then I'll explain it. So, go and shite. Go and shite. Maybe I'm not doing any justice how I would say it, but I'm not in agreement with your suggestion, and the usage is, the priest told me to abstain from bad language, so I told him to go and shite. And so, there you go. I didn't know that was the usage one. I liked it. Go and shite. So I'm not in agreement with your suggestion. Go and shite. There you go. Anyway, that's number 2. So number 3 is, I like this one. This is cute. So this is for my newsletter. I always had a joke thing, a pun thing or a joke thing, and I tried to relate it to food or to health, and I would get some of them out of this book, which I've had for a very long time, and it has all kinds of, here it's quite full of all kinds of stories, some heartwarming stories in some ways, but funny, make you laugh. So I like this one. This is for the mothers. This is for the mothers. All mothers have intuition. The great ones have radar. So this is Kathy Giswit. So she's, oh, it's such a small print. Forget it. I won't be able to read it. It is so small. But there, I noticed there was one here for from Jerry Seinfeld. So I'm going to read this one. There's no such thing as fun for the whole family. So some of these, you know, what else could there be here? Anyway, I'm going to leave it at that. And that's a few things. I'll post that up on there on the message below, along with all these links. I'll put them up there as well. And yeah, any comments, any questions, any feedback, anything, you know, post them below. But I'll post the various links below, so you can go explore if you wish. And that will be the simple thing. So I knew I'd go longer than 30 minutes today, but I tried to move along as quickly as I can with all of that. And I think that's it. The only thing I wanted to mention is over the next few weeks, it was last week I kind of put it into place, is that I'm going to do meet and greet the author. That's to do with the book, All Guts, All Glory, that whatever time, 3 years or whatever before it got into press. So I'm going to read some things out of it, a poem. I'm going to bring up a couple of things. It's only for about 30 minutes, and people may have questions. Some of the things that I was getting over the course of the month was, what's your book about? You know, tell me what it's more about. I mean, there's the titles, yes, but I guess from my own self as to what, you know, what the book's all about. So there's a little bit of that too as well. So, and questions, you know, you can ask any questions you want, and I'll present some things and we'll go through some things, but it's on Zoom, and I'll post that link down below as well. So it'll be this Wednesday and next Wednesday for sure, and then we'll see how it goes with schedules, because I definitely have to get, and I'd like to get more courses up in this new online academy, which I will give you more information in the next couple of weeks, just to share with you about that, because you can go and check it out, see what it's about, and there's a lot of free courses if you become a member. Very reasonable, but a lot of good stuff, and I've been interacting with the other faculty members, and so it's very interesting. A whole wide range of courses are going to be on there, from just even an hour, and a lot of things will be free for an hour, just mini ones, and then you can actually get certified in things as well, like Reiki, I'm understanding, or even hypnosis. So they're going to have a wide range of courses. So that's awesome. just so that if I say it a couple of times, you'll understand when I say I awesome. It's the new upcoming online academy that I'll be teaching some of my courses. So it's kind of lit the match underneath me to get these things in courses or online courses for people can learn about the various things: YDAN, iridology, nutrition, health, the lessons in nature, the calling all artists, and yeah, that's kind of it for now, but a lot of fun. So I'm going to wish everybody a wonderful evening, and find some fun in your evening, of course, however it means to you. And we will see you next time at Live at 5, whenever it strikes me to come on and share information with you. So take care, best of health to you and your loved ones, and we will see you again soon. Bye for now.